In addition to the various revolts and resistances which the Britishers faced in India, there were various uprisings which were led by the various tribal leaders, which were peasant movements in character because they were influenced by the agricultural factors. So various tribal and peasant uprisings were also there, which erupted against the various exploitative, against the high land revenue demand which was inflicted upon them by the Britishers. Okay, so various forms, the resistance to the British rule could never be complete until and unless we will not deal with these topics, various tribal and peasant uprisings, because they did not like it, the intervention जो इंटरफियर उनकी पर्सनल लाइफ के साथ होता था, जो इंटरवेंशन उनकी कस्टम्स के साथ होता था, जो इंटरवेंशन उनके सेटअप के साथ होता था, उनका अपना एक कल्टीवेशन सिस्टम था, उनके अपने एक सोशल रिलीजियस सेटअप थे, तो दे वर अगेंस्ट दैट इंटरवेंशन, दे वर अगेंस्ट दैट एक्सप्लॉयटेशन. आप ऐसी किसी की जमीन नहीं छीन सकते हो, आप ऐसे ही हाई लैंड रेवेन्यू डिमांड उन पे नहीं इंपोज कर सकते हो, उनका अपना सिस्टम था, दे वर इन देयर ओन वर्ल्ड. So when you are doing that, when the Britishers did that, so they took arms and हथियार उठाने पे वो मजबूर हो गए. That's how these tribal and various peasant uprisings occurred in India. Okay, so we will divide these tribal and peasant uprisings into two parts. First of all, we will take these tribal movements, then we will take these peasant movements. Okay. Among the tribal movements, the first topic which we will discuss is the Sannyasi revolt, a small scale tribal revolt. Sannyasi revolt, इसके बारे में हम पढ़ेंगे. Sannyasi revolt. Then there was also the coal uprising. Coal uprising was also there. Okay. Then you have the much important revolt that is known as Santhal revolt. संथाल रिवोल्ट के बाद जो है वो आएगा आपका बिल अपराइजिंग. ओके. then others as well. ये जो है there are some little important uprisings as well, उनको भी हम यहाँ पे पढ़ेंगे among the tribal revolts. then peasant में जो हमारा टॉपिक होगा, there actually occurred 3 important peasant uprisings against the British rule, against their high-handed land revenue measures, against their high-handed land revenue policy which exploited them. Okay, so it was, first of all, we will take this Bengal Indigo revolt आप उसको कहेंगे या एगिटेशन उसको कहेंगे आप, जो 1860 में होती है. 1860 में ये भी एक रिवोल्ट उनके खिलाफ हो गया, ब्रिटिशर्स के खिलाफ. देन यू हैव आल्सो व्हाट्स नोन एज Deccan Riots. आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट द डेट बट इट मस्ट बी 1875. ये आप चेक कर लेना. Deccan Riots ऑफ 1875. Deccan Riots. ओके. देन अब 1921 का एक रिवोल्ट आएगा यहाँ पे, मलाबार अपराइजिंग, मलाबार रिवोल्ट, जिसको हम कहते हैं मपिला अपराइजिंग. ओके, या मलाबार रिवोल्ट. 1921 के आसपास ये रिवोल्ट होता है. देयर आर अदर इंपॉर्टेंट अपराइजिंग्स व्हिच वेर लेड बाय द पीजेंट्स एज वेल. सो जैसे आप खेड़ा सत्याग्रह कहेंगे, या जो चंपारण सत्याग्रह वगैरह है. व्हेन वी विल कम टू द नेशनल मूवमेंट, व्हेन वी विल डिस्कस अबाउट द महात्मा गांधी, तो वहां पे जो है हम उन पीजेंट एगिटेशंस के बारे में भी डिस्कस करेंगे. ठीक है. नाउ सी, we have to deal with these topics one by one. Okay, so first of all, let's see this Sannyasi revolt. Okay, so Sannyasi revolt, it was the first tribal revolt. It was the first important tribal revolt against the Britishers. These sannyasis, as you know, this is a term which is referred to as the religious saints, the ascetic persons among the Hinduism, who used to travel from one place to another place, and they were already known to the Britishers. Britishers used to refer to them with various names, like they were called as heretic beggars, gypsies of Hindustan,
lawless mendicants, then religious vagrants, etc. They were known by these terms. Britishers इनको ऐसे ताने देते थे और इस नाम से पुकारते थे. Then, after the Britishers had acquired revenue rights in Bengal, they had acquired rights, administrative and the revenue rights. They acquired those rights through the Diwani. Okay, through the Diwani. Diwani was granted to the Britishers by uh, by the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II when he was defeated at the Battle of Buxar. That Battle of Buxar was fought in 1764. Then in 1765 they were given the Diwani rights. Okay, Diwani means the right to collect the revenue, the right to administer the civil justice. Okay, so this Diwani right was given to them, and because of this factor, they used to collect more and more revenue from the zamindars, from the peasants. And what happened? Many zamindars had fallen upon the very hard times owing to the steep tax rates. Because Britishers ने जो है उनका एक फीचर ही रहा है कि they used to collect very heavy tax rates from the Indians, whether zamindars or the peasants. Now, what did they do? Because of these heavy tax rates, the zamindars had, they had become very poor. Now, जैसे मैंने इस पॉइंट में लिखा है, it was the practice of sannyasis to collect alms and contributions from these zamindars during their religious travels. Okay, अभी उसी पे डिपेंड थे ना. They had not any kind of settled life. This was stopped by, क्योंकि जमींदार को खुद खाने के लिए कुछ नहीं था तो इनको क्या देता. These zamindars found it too difficult to provide alms, since after paying the British their due, they were hardly left with anything substantial. Okay, then sannyasis rose into rebellion against this atrocity, against this kind of occurrences. Okay, so these sannyasis, they rose in rebellion against the British and raided the English factories and government treasuries. British controlled government treasuries and English factories. So their main center of activities were Murshidabad and Bekuntpur. It's where they resisted the Britishers most. In 1771, this sannyasi rebellion, it occurred in 1771 when Warren Hastings was the governor general of Bengal. In 1771, 150 unarmed sannyasis were killed under the orders of this Warren Hastings. Okay, because now the government was swung into action and they killed many of them. Now, this fact is important regarding this sannyasi rebellion. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee ने एक novel लिखी है. उस novel का नाम है आनंद मत. That Anand Math, the novel which is written in 1882, it was set in the backdrop of sannyasi rebellion. Remember it, okay? It was set in this backdrop. This Anand Math explains various things about this sannyasi rebellion. This Anand Math states the condition of these sannyasis, and it's something very interesting to read. This book was banned by the British because it supported these sannyasis. Okay, it was banned by the British. There is one more fact: Indian national song, which is Vande Mataram, as you know. So it was taken from this novel. Okay, it is taken from Anand Math. So it's all important information about the sannyasi rebellion, sannyasi uprising. We'll study further one important revolt, that is the Santhal revolt. This Santhal revolt is the most important revolt among all the tribal revolts which the Britishers faced in India. So this Santhal revolt, it occurred in 1855-56. That means only 1 year before the revolt of 1857. Why? The main reason is the introduction of permanent land settlement, permanent settlement, or the zamindari settlement. I have already told you that, I have already taught you that how the permanent settlement of Bengal was introduced in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa and other parts in 1793, when Lord Cornwallis was the Governor General of India, Governor General of Bengal at that time, rather. How this land revenue made zamindars the owners of the land. How that permanent settlement made these zamindars the owners of land, and these zamindars were given the right to expand their cultivation, to expand the area of their cultivation. How these zamindars had to pay the very heavy land revenue to the government, and how these zamindars exploited those persons who were cultivating the land, who were subordinated, and जो उनके अंडर जो है काम करते थे. अब जमींदार खुद खेती नहीं करते थे ना. There were persons, there were the peasants who were cultivating their estates. They were made the owners of land. That is the point. Now see, व्हाट हैपेंड, ये कॉजेस हम यहाँ पे नीचे भी लिखा होगा, आई थिंक या थर्ड पॉइंट पे लिखा होगा ये। अब यहाँ पे आप देखिए, पहले सबसे पहले मैं दूसरा पॉइंट यहाँ पे मेंशन करूंगा आपसे। these this center of activity, their main area of resistance was the Rajmahal Hills, Bhagalpur district and Birbhum. Okay, so these are the regions which lie in present day this hilly areas of West Bengal. So यहाँ पे जो है संथाल रिवोल्ट आकर होता है. इनफैक्ट संथाल tribe was spread over to the various other parts as well. They used to live in the present day states of Odisha and Bihar as well. Okay, so these Jharkhand, in fact वहाँ पे भी उनकी जो है population अच्छी खासी है, these संथाल tribe की. Now see, what happened when this permanent land settlement was introduced. These zamindars who were now backed by the Britishers, they snatched the lands that the Santhals had been cultivating for centuries. Okay, the zamindars, moneylenders, Europeans, and the British government officials raised the land tax and exploited farmers. ये मैंने आपको कह दिया है. They were so oppressed that they resolved to rebel against the landlords and the government. Now, when the government enhanced the tax demand, what these Santhals did, now the Santhals came under the zamindars who were made the owners of the land. These zamindars tried to snatch away every right from these Santhals, every right from these Santhals. They used it to these Santhals, they used to have their own socio-religious kind of life, social life, their own customs, or though that intervention in their customs, into their daily life, into their day-to-day activities, that was something which was very much resisted by the Santhals. They had, यहाँ पे जो है प्रॉब्लम और भी थी. Now Britishers came with their own policies, with their own regulations. Those regulations and those policies again went against the tribals, including the Santhals. These Santhals used to involve themselves in what's known as the Jhum cultivation. जब ये वो स्लैश एंड बर्न मेथड अप्लाई कर रहे थे, तो उस पर भी बैन लगाई गवर्नमेंट ने. तो ऐसे कुछ कॉजेज ऑलरेडी थे. बट नाउ दिस परमानेंट लैंड सेटलमेंट ब्रॉट द मिजरीज, उन मिजरीज को, उन परेशानियों को जो है, संथाल्स की परेशानी को इसमें और इम्प्रूवमेंट होती है. That's why these Santhals, they rose into rebellion, they rose into revolt against these persons, zamindars, because when the zamindars were made the owners of land, अब ये Santhals इन zamindars के अंडर ही आ गए, तो ये भी जो है उनके दुश्मन बन गए, क्योंकि जमींदार जो है इन टर्न, जो जमींदार were bound to pay high land revenue demand to the British government. ये जमींदार लाते कहाँ से? इनको अपने सबऑर्डिनेट, अपने सब्जेक्ट से लाने थे ना, पीजेंट से. Now these Santhals were also made the peasants who were working under the zamindars. So when these zamindars used to collect, used to demand high land revenue from these Santhals, what these Santhals did, what these tribals did, they were forced to take loans from the money lenders. They were forced to take loans from the money lenders, so that they could, pay the tax, so that they could pay the tax demand to these zamindars, who were in turn paying that tax to the government, British government. Okay, now these moneylenders also became the enemies of Santhals, because these moneylenders charged the very high rate of interest from these Santhals. Again, they were involving these moneylenders. They were using very forgery. They were using very unethical methods to exploit these Santhals. ऐसे अंगूठा लगाते थे ये मनी लैंडर्स, जिससे उनको पता ही नहीं चलता था व्हाट दे आर एग्जैक्टली डूइंग. तो मतलब ये उनके जाल में फंस जाते थे पूरे ये संथाल ट्राइबल्स, बीइंग द इग्नोरेंट, बीइंग द इलिटरेट. दे वर नॉट knowing anything about what they were doing exactly. Okay, they were completely coming into the trap of these moneylenders. Okay, then Europeans, these Santhals knew. These Europeans, in fact, they were the ones who were supporting these zamindars and moneylenders and the other British government officials. In fact, all these persons, zamindars, moneylenders, Europeans, and all the other persons who were not Santhals, in fact, who were outsiders, They used to refer to those outsiders with a different term known as Dikus. Dikus was a term which was referred by the Santhals to the outsiders. Okay, to the outsiders. Now see, you know, against this exploitation, the Santhals rose into rebellion. Right? They engaged. They were engaged in the guerrilla warfare. They, because the area they used to live was very much adaptable to this guerrilla warfare kind of activities, kind of fighting. The Santhal army dismantled the railway and the postal communications. The leaders, okay, two Santhal brothers were the leaders, Sidhu and Kanu. Okay, मुर्मू was their identity. कुछ ट्राइब वगैरह जो है वो मुर्मू थी उनकी ना, जो ट्राइब में फिर कुछ और सिस्टम होता है जिससे आइडेंटिफाई होता है, जैसे उनका कास्ट वगैरह होता था, जो भी है. तो सिद्धू एंड कानू मुर्मू, these were the two brothers who organized this rebellion. They organized 10,000 Santhals and proclaimed a rebellion against the Britishers. All right. Then what happened? Actually, these were two sisters as well, Fulu and Janu. These sisters also took part in this Santhal revolt. When the Santhals were fighting hard against the Britishers, but Britishers, by virtue of their superior army, by virtue of their superior military force and disciplined army, they were able to crush these Santhals, and many thousands of Santhals died fighting against these Britishers. But after some time, the Santhals got some relief, because Santhal, Santhal Pargana, it was actually Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act. This Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act, which was passed in 1876. So they did not got any brief relief from the Britishers, but this Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act was passed in 1876, which offered some protection for the tribals against the exploitation, and Santhal was made as a separate Pargana by the Britishers, by this act. Okay. So after Santhal uprising, there is one more important uprising by the Britishers, that is known as coal uprising. All right. This coal uprising occurred in 1832. That is before the Santhal revolt. Santhal revolt is important. That is why I brought that revolt before this coal uprising. This coal rebellion against the Britishers, it occurred in Chota Nagpur area, again in the same belt, against the mineral rich resource area of India, again that Jharkhand Chhattisgarh belt. These coals, now again these coals are the tribe. This is a tribe which still lives in India. They are large. They are quite large in numbers nowadays as well. These schools, they lived in complete autonomy under their traditional chiefs, but this changed when the British came. British kaha mante, they wanted uniformity. They wanted they wanted to unite every part of the country. They wanted to have the same administrative mechanism for the entire country. So it's what led to the resistance by the coals, and along with the British, then came the moneylenders and merchants. So causes are similar with every revolt which was done by the tribals. It was it was mainly the intervention by the outsiders, the intervention by the Britishers, that was the main cause for the risings which was made by these tribals. And they had their separate, they had their distinct identity, they had their distinct system of living. They used to they used to cultivate their agriculture by their own methods, whether it was a slash and burn method, zoom cultivation, whether it was the other eco-friendly method of cultivation. So they were using those kinds. They were in their own lives, they were in their own life, they were having that isolationist attitude. So that isolationist attitude was something which was intervened by the Britishers. That's why these coals then lost, they lost their lands to the farmers from outside, and also had to pay the huge amount of money in taxes. This led to many, becoming bonded laborers. Then the British judicial policies also caused resentment among the coals, because the judiciary was always working towards the opposite side. That means the judiciary was helping the opposite parties, the enemies of these coals. Coals earlier resisted as well, but These schools were not getting any kind of justice from the Britishers because these judicial or every judiciary was against them. Okay, so जो है this every judiciary the judicial mechanism was favoring the rich, the zamindars, the money lenders, the Britishers. So there was no place for the poor as far as the British Indian judiciary was concerned. Okay, then there was an insurrection कब हुई है 1831-32 which saw the coals organize themselves and revolt against the Britishers and the moneylanders. The revolt तो करना ही था. They killed many outsiders and burned houses. This armed resistance went on for 2 years, after which it was brutally suppressed by the British with their superior weaponry. The coal rebellion was so intense that troops had to be called in from the Calcutta and Banaras to it. So it's easy. Okay, then against this Munda rebellion, then again we have one more tribal uprising that's known as the Munda. This Munda rebellion जिस नाम ही पता चलेगा आपको. This Munda, this is an important tribe in Jharkhand. Okay, it is in Jharkhand. सो झारखंड छत्तीसगढ़ वाला जो बेल्ट है वहाँ पे रहते थे मुंडा ट्राइब. तब उनकी पॉपुलेशन ज़्यादा थी, आज कम है. These Mundas, they inhabited this Chota Nagpur area. Now there was a system that is known as Khunkati system. What was this Khunkati system? It was a cooperative mechanism. It was a joint holding of land which prevailed among the Mundas. Okay, it was a joint holding of land, cooperative mechanism, cooperative land. They were not having the private property. They were only cultivating land in cooperation with one another. When the resources were coming, they were pooling their resources. मतलब जो भी जिसका भी जितना खर्चा होगा, मतलब एक cooperative kind of cultivation कर रहे थे, तो उसको बोलते हैं कुनकटी सिस्टम. अब ब्रिटिशर्स ने इसको भी वायलेट किया. क्या किया ब्रिटिशर्स ने? The Britishers, the advent of Britishers and the advent of but the advent of Britishers and the outsiders, zamindars, what they did, they replaced the Khunkati system with the zamindari system. This caused indebtedness and forced the labor among the tribals. And forced labor, this caused Karazdari, indebtedness, and the forced labor among the tribals. इनको बिल्कुल बेगारी पे लगा दिया था उन्होंने. ठीक है. Then moving on, there were many rebellions during the late 18th century and the 19th century against the Britishers and the Dikus, जो मैंने भी कहा, outsiders other than the Britishers. Outsiders को Dikus ही कहते हैं. So these Mundas were able to get an able charismatic leader. Who was this leader? Birsa Munda, who proclaimed a rebellion in 1894. Alright, so 1894 में revolt होता है, Munda rebellion. Under बिरसा मुंडा इसका लीडर होता है. तो झारखंड की हिस्ट्री में बिरसा मुंडा का जो इम्पोर्टेंस है वो बहुत ही ज़्यादा है. इनफैक्ट एनिवर्सरी भी बनाई जाती है इस बिरसा मुंडा के नाम पे वहाँ से. एवरी ईयर इसकी एनिवर्सरी भी मनाई जाती है. ही इज रिगार्डेड देयर एज अ नेशनल, एज अ स्टेट लीडर. This Birsa Munda, in order to inspire his people, he declared himself as God and organized his people to revolt openly against the government. He urged people to stop paying debts and taxes. He was arrested and he spent 2 years in jail before being released in 1897. Now what happened in December 1899, he launched an armed struggle against the landlords and the government. The Mundas tortured क्या किया? Police stations पे, houses of the landlords, churches, British property. In 1900, Birsa Munda was caught. He died in jail due to cholera, just aged 25. Okay, so आपने समझ लिया होगा. It's all about this Munda rebellion. Then those were the major important tribal uprisings which occurred in India during the British rule, and those tribal uprisings occupy the important place in the history of modern India. And among those revolts, as I told you, there are often questions which are coming, like in 2018 UPSC prelims paper, there was a question from the Santhal revolt also. So that was only an example, and I'm sure that more questions are coming from this component in the coming days, in the coming exams. Now see, among the major peasant revolts, peasant uprisings, the first important revolt was the Indigo Revolt of Bengal. Okay? इंडिगो रिवोल्ट ऑफ बंगाल, क्योंकि इंडिगो प्लांटेशन का फोर्स किया था उन पे, आपको इंडिगो प्लांटेशन करनी है, कल्टिवेट, दैट्स व्हाई दिस इंडिगो रिवोल्ट occurred. This indigo cultivation started in 1777 in Bengal. Okay. Now what happened? European planters enjoyed a monopoly over the indigo and they forced Indian farmers to grow indigo by signing fraudulent deals with them. इतना तो समझ आ गया होगा आपको. The cultivators were forced to grow indigo in place of food crops. Again, the commercialization of agriculture जो मैंने आपको कहा था, तो उसकी एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे, बहुत बड़ी एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे है. In order to bring these cultivators under the agreement, under the binding agreement, they were using these European planters, they were giving them the advance loans. अभी एडवांस लोन देते थे जिसके जिसका कंसिक्वेंस ये होता था कि ये कभी ये कर्जा जो है ये वापस नहीं कर पाते थे. दे वर नॉट able to give back those loans to the Britishers. They were forced to sell indigo at non-profitable rates by the Britishers so as to maximize the European planters' profit. Okay, ऐसा ही कर रहे थे. They were indulging in these practices. And the government, whenever there was any problem, whenever there was any complaint which was made by these indigo cultivators, they used to launch complaint with the government, but the government always supported the planters because government was a British government and planters were also the Britishers. Okay. The main center of their activities was the Nadia district and Pabna. Both these places are in Bengal. This occurred in Bengal. This uh, Peasant uprising, indigo revolt occurred in Bengal. It was supported by Bengali intelligentsia. It was supported by Muslims. It was supported by various Christian missionaries as well. So the press also supported that revolt, this indigo revolt. Press played an important role. That's why, because of these factors, it was a success. It was a success. There is a novel which is known as Neel Darpan. Actually, Neel Darpan is a novel which is written by Deen Bandhu Mitra, right? Deen Bandhu Mitra. Deen Bandhu Mitra. It portrayed the condition of these indigo cultivators. It highlighted how the European planters were exploiting these indigo cultivators by hook or crook, by various fraudulent methods, by the cheating. So the it provided that insight to the Britishers. It provided that insight to the Indian Indian जो भी उस वक्त पे यहाँ पे लीडरशिप थी, तो उनको इन्होंने जो है अवेयर किया. इट प्लेड एन इंपॉर्टेंट रोल इन द अवेयरनेस. इनफैक्ट इट reached London as well. It reached to the Britishers as well. One among the Britishers named as James Long. James Long, he translated this Deen Bandhu Mitra's novel Neel Darpan. He translated it into the English language, and by which English were also this able to get aware about they now came to know about the miserable condition of these indigo cultivators, how they were exploited by the European planters, British planters. So this James Long has made this thing happen by translating this work into English at that time. Not during the modern period. बहुत उस टाइम पे 19th सेंचुरी में से ट्रांसलेट किया था. उसके बाद क्या होता है? Okay, in fact this James Long, what happened with this James Long, इंग्लिश ने जो है इस पे केस भी लगाया, भाई आप हमारी बदनामी करते हो, आपने ये क्यों ट्रांसलेट वगैरह की, तो फिर इस पे इसको पेनल्टी वगैरह मे बी इम्प्रिजमेंट भी इसको होती है एट द हैंड्स ऑफ ब्रिटिशर्स. And when all kind of awarenesses, when all kind of campaigns, when all kind of press, when all kind of Indian intelligentsia, there was a public opinion which was strongly united in favor of these indigo planters, in indigo cultivators, and there was a very negative perception in the minds of the various intellectual circles, and among those this Neel Darpan of Deen Bandhu Mitra, it played an important part. So this you know Indigo Commission was appointed in 1860, and it virtually liberated the this Indian cultivators, in Indian indigo cultivators, from the clutches of these British exploiters, okay, British planters. इनफैक्ट इस इंडिगो कमीशन ने इंक्वायरी की, फिर इंक्वायरी में से इसने एक स्टेटमेंट ये दिया, नॉट जस्ट ऑफ इंडिगो, reached England without being stained with human blood. Okay, so it was his investigation. So it's how this Indigo Commission tried to resolve the issues, and these indigo cultivators were virtually liberated from the exploitation of the Britishers, right? Okay. Among the agricultural crises, one another crisis is in the form of Deccan riots. Deccan riots, okay? 1875 में एक crisis होता है, Deccan riots 1875. अब मैंने लिखा है तो मैं आपको इसके साथ ही पढ़ाऊंगा, तो आई डोंट वांट टू, यहाँ पे मैं भाषण नहीं देना चाहता हूँ ज़्यादा. सो इट वाज एक्चुअली द रियोतवारी सेटलमेंट ऑफ द लैंड रेवेन्यू. नाउ साउथ इंडिया में वो परमानेंट सेटलमेंट ऑफ बंगाल जैसा सेटलमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस नहीं करते हैं, वहाँ पे वो रियातवारी सेटलमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं. In fact, this Revolts settlement was introduced at the beginning of 19th century by Sir John Shore, and there's one more person who is associated with this land revenue settlement. अब इसमें जो है रियोत का मतलब ही पीजेंट होता है. That means this रियोतवारी settlement, it was made with the peasants, and peasants or the cultivators were made the owners of the land. It were the cultivators, it were the peasants who had to pay the revenue to the government, not the zamindars, because in South India there is not any kind of scope for the zamindars, because that is quite deficient as far as the land revenue, as far as the fertility of land is concerned. Right? Then in case of this Ryotwari settlement, as I told you, revenues were to be collected from the peasants, from the cultivators, not from the zamindars. Okay, these revenues were very high that farmers found it extremely difficult to pay their taxes. Okay, any failure, भाई अगर नहीं दोगे, any failure in the rains would deteriorate the situation. अगर कोई failure होता था, rains वगैरह, बारिश नहीं होती थी टाइम पे, तो उसके चक्कर में जो है it was very difficult for these peasants to pay the revenue to the government. But government जो नहीं मानती है सब. They had, actually these peasants of the Deccan, they had already taken loans from the moneylenders. Once the loans were taken, the farmers found it impossible to repay them since the interest rate was very high. Peasant indebtedness, कर्जदारी became a serious problem because they were taking loans from these moneylenders. अब चुकाएंगे कैसे, ये तो बड़ा मुश्किल है. So, in Deccan, as I told you, Deccan जो है, Deccan में food crops की cultivation ज़्यादा नहीं होती थी. It was mainly the cotton. It was mainly the cotton which was being cultivated by the Deccan, and still the cotton cultivation is mostly in the states like this Maharashtra and Gujarat. Then further south जो है वहाँ पे ये cotton cultivation होती है. अब 1861 में क्या होता है? 1861 में civil war broke out in USA. सिविल वार पता था ना आपको, ब्लैक्स एंड व्हाइट्स के बीच में सिविल वार होता है वहाँ पे यूएसए में. Civil war is something which occurred in USA, and in which lakhs of persons, US citizens, were killed due to that racism. वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा था. Black states कुछ थे, then white states. It was actually the civil wars mainly fought between the blacks and the whites, and what happened, that will be dealt with a separate lecture when we will talk about the American Civil War. That will be a separate topic in the world history. आप इतना याद रखिए, 1861 में यूएसए की स्टेट्स थी. उन स्टेट्स में जो है आपस में झगड़ा होता है. एक साइड से 13 स्टेट्स होती हैं, दूसरी साइड से some 24 और 30 स्टेट्स होती हैं. वो आपस में झगड़ते हैं फॉर द पावर. एट दैट टाइम देयर वाज द प्रेसिडेंट, आई थिंक इट वाज थॉमस जेफरसन, who was the president, most probably. आप इसको चेक कीजिएगा. This was what led to the cotton boom in India. अब cotton boom क्या होता है ना, cotton cultivation, cotton जो है export बहुत हो गया है इंडिया से, because due to the civil war which broke out in USA was not able to export the cotton to the British. Now because of the conditions which were prevalent in the USA, वहाँ पे बहुत हालत खराब थी. अब जो है इंडिया गॉट दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी. ना इंडिया के पास ये अपॉर्चुनिटी थी कि देखो, ही कुड हैव इट वाज मेड टू कल्टिवेट, इट वाज मेड टू एक्सपोर्ट द कॉटन टू ब्रिटेन. सो वैक्यूम को फिल करने के लिए इंडिया से कॉटन जो है अब एक्सपोर्ट होता था ब्रिटेन. इसके चक्कर में जो है बहुत ही फायदा हो गया इंडियन कॉटन इंडस्ट्रीज को और इंडियन कॉटन कल्टिवेटर्स को. But when this revolt stopped, when this civil war stopped in 1866, this boom stopped. There was no more the boom. Now this boom, जब अचानक से पैसा, जब अचानक से जो है ये कल्टिवेशन कम होती है, जब अचानक से इनका फायदा कम होता है, so it ultimately gives crisis, birth to the crisis. Okay, it ultimately gives birth to the, to the depression, to the economic depression. That's what happened after that civil war was over, because now USA was able to take back that position of exporter of cotton to the Europe. अब इंडिया का कॉटन वहाँ पे नहीं जाता था, अगर जाता भी तो थोड़ा महंगा होता था एज कम्पेयर टू यूएसए. दैट्स हाउ दे स्टार्टेड. अब दूसरी साइड से जो है गवर्नमेंट बोलते थे भाई हमें टैक्स लेना ही लेना है, आप कुछ भी करो टैक्स तो आपको देना ही पड़ेगा. टैक्स कहाँ से लाता भाई, बूम तो खत्म हो गया, लेकिन ये सुने ही नहीं. और फिर रिवोल्ट जो स्टार्ट होता है पूना में. ओके, पूना वाज द मेन, पूना में स्टार्ट होता है, दैट मीन्स महाराष्ट्र. फिर ये अदर प्लेसेस में जो है एक्सपेंड होता है. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड इन 1875, वहां तक ये चला जाता है. मतलब ये कंडीशन, ये तो पहले की कंडीशन है, इतनी खराब कंडीशन थी इनकी. दे वर नॉट एबल टू पे द रेवेन्यू, दे वर नॉट एबल टू पे द डेब्ट्स बैक टू द money lenders. They were expecting the same boom which they saw in 1861 onwards. But the situation got worse. The situation got worse. It got very worse. And the farmers, they attacked the marketplace where many money lenders lived. क्यों money lenders ही इनके target होते थे? Because these money lenders, they used to give them loans, and when they were not able to pay back their loans, these moneylenders often used to evict them from their lands, from their houses, and they were always engaged in those in the kind of unethical activities without having any sympathy for these peasants. Now what happened? It's usual, it's common when they attack the moneylenders, they burn down the account books, they looted the grain shops, they also tortured the houses of sahukars. Sahukars were again people who were both traders and moneylenders. इनको भी attack करते हैं इन sahukars को. Okay. Then this movement, this this Deccan movement, the riots, they were supported by various nationalists, like one of the earliest nationalist organization. In fact, prior to the Congress, there was one earliest nationalist organization, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. It was founded by M.G. Ranade. It supported it. When the crises were going on, government was also now it woke from the sleep, and it appointed a commission, Deccan Riots Commission. So it gave some kind of good inquiry, report, and on the basis of that, the agriculturist relief act was passed. That means कि भाई आप जो है टेंशन मत ले लो, आपको जो है जो उस पोजीशन में होगा कि टैक्स दे सकता है उसको देना पड़ेगा, और जो उस पोजीशन में नहीं होगा उसको हम माफ कर देंगे. तो ऐसे इसकी प्रोविजंस थे इस एग्रीकल्चरिस्ट रिलीफ एक्ट के. Then one more important major peasant revolt was in the form of Mappillah revolt. I think we will also talk about this revolt when we will study the revolt of 18, when we will study about the non-cooperation movement. आप ये समझिए कि who were these Mappillahs? It was actually a peasant community who lived in Malabar, present day Kerala. Okay, they were actually the descendants of the Arab settlers who had settled there in the Kerala coast when they used to carry on the trade and commerce with India. Some of them had settled in Kerala, and for your information, the first mosque in India is in Kerala. Okay, because the Muslims had for the first time come to India as traders, that too on the Kerala coast. फिर बाद में यहाँ पे जो है वो नॉर्थ वेस्ट फ्रंटियर साइड से जो है मुस्लिम्स आते हैं. पहले वो एज ए ट्रेडर्स जो है केरला कोस्ट में आते हैं. सो इन 1921 देयर वाज popular movement which was going on, popular revolt which was going on. That revolt is known as non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement का cause जो है वो है, among the various causes, one important cause was the खिलाफत issue, खिलाफत movement. Okay, तो यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ा आपको brief करता हूँ. खिलाफत movement is that movement which was fought by the Muslims all over the world against the treatment which the Britishers gave to the Khalifa of the Khalifa. खलीफा कौन होता था? He was the spiritual head of the Muslims who lived in Turkey. अब तुर्की में जो है, तुर्की में वो लिव करता था, लेकिन तुर्की was on the side of Axis powers in the First World War. First World War was fought between the Axis powers and the Allied powers. Axis powers हारते हैं, Allied powers जीतते हैं. अब allied powers जो है, allied powers के साथ ही होता है, ये USA, ब्रिटिश, फ्रांस वगैरह allied powers के साथ होते हैं, एक्सिस पावर्स के साथ होते हैं यही कौन, Germany होता है. Then you have this Turkey and other countries as well. When they defeated these Axis powers, they used to sign various treaties with the defeated powers. Among those treaties, one treaty is the Treaty of Sevres, Sevres. In that Treaty of Sevres, this Turkey, the Khalifa of Turkey, he was humiliated. He was given an unkind treatment. He was taken away all the territories. He was taken away all जो भी उसके पास कोई रिसोर्सेज वगैरह थे वो उसको जो है दिस उसको जो है मतलब उससे छीन ली गई. सो दैट वाज समथिंग विच वाज इम्पोर्टेंट फ्रॉम द यहाँ पे इस ये आपको समझाने के लिए. सो in against that treatment which the Britishers gave, which the Allied powers gave to the to the Axis powers or to the Turkey. अब तुर्की the Axis powers के साथ थी. So they did what they did. They Muslims all over the world, they started this Khilafat movement. Khilafat, it's not R, it's T. Khilafat movement. Okay. This Khilafat movement was something that we started in India as well, and later on this Khilafat movement was supported by Gandhi as well. It was supported by Mahatma Gandhi as well. But this this Khilafat movement अब North India में चल रहा था ये Khilafat movement. This Indian National Congress was participating in North India. अब it was something which had taken this Khilafat movement. Is this Mappillah revolt. Mappillah revolt जो है उनको angry, वो भी Mappillah, they were Muslims also, they also became angry because of this untreatment, because of this unkind treatment which Britishers gave to the this Khalifa. It became a communal riot when the Kudian or the tenant Mappillahs attacked their Hindu enemies or landlords and killed many of them. फिर क्या होता है, फिर ये it takes the communal tune. It takes the criminal tune, and these Mappillahs, they attacked various Hindu zamindars, various Hindu landlords, and killed many of them. Okay, the main leader of this Mappillah revolt was Ali Musliar. Ali Musaliar was the main leader, and the situation was so grave for the British that they raised a special battalion, the Malabar Special Police Force, to deal with this kind of threat which was posed to them by the Mappillahs, and they were easily suppressed, and they were easily they were easily killed. In fact, thousands of people died. They perished before the strength of these Britishers. So so I think this is all about the major peasant uprisings. I'm sure that you will enjoy it. And here